The Ramban tells us a startling, mysterious idea. He says that in the Shira of Ha'azinu, the Song of Ha'azinu, which is comprised of merely 43 verses, the Torah alludes in some way, shape, or form to all of human history, to all of world history, past, present, future. It's all somehow, some way alluded to in that song. And it's chilling to think about the events that have recently transpired with the return of the hostages. And I want to share with you something. You know, the day that the hostages were released, after 2 years, nearly 2 years in captivity, the number that you may have seen online on the news, and Twitter posts, and Facebook, and Yeshiva World, wherever you may have seen WhatsApp status, wherever you may have seen, the number was 738. That's the number. That was the day on Hoshana Rabbah this year. And I want to share with you an idea that I shared on that night of Shmini Atzeres. 738, you may have seen, is the numerical value, the Gematria of Mizmar Lasoda. And how apropos, giving thanks to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, many don't even say Mizmar Lasoda on Hoshana Rabbah, so the irony was even more ironic. But there's another Gematria of 738, which I want to share with you, which I think is unbelievable. There's a platform that I use that can calculate the numerical value of complete verses in all of Tanakh. So I plugged in the number 738, and I was shocked. There's only one pasuk in the entire Torah, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim with that exact gematria of 738. And it's in none other than Shir Hazinu, the Song of Hazinu, which, as the Ramban tells us, incorporates all past, present, and future. It's the pasuk in chapter 32, verse 37, Lamed Beis, Lamed Zayin. And the pasuk says like this, the Amar, he will say, it's a machlokas, who's talking. Some Mefarshim say it's talking about the Umos Ha'olam, the nations, but many others say it's talking about Klal Yisrael, and others say it's talking about Hashem. V'yamar, he will say, E Elohemo, where is their God? Tzur chasayu bai, in whom the rock in whom they sought refuge. Where is their God, the rock in whom they sought refuge? Says Rashi. Rashi tells us that, Rashi explains that Hashem is talking. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Aleim Amar is saying, Ey Elohemu, Hashem is saying, where are their gods, Sha'avdu, whom they worshipped? Where are they? Right? We say in davening, the Avodah Zarah, that they serve Ein Lo Peh, they don't have a mouth, they don't have eyes, they don't have a nose. It's a false. You were scammed. That's one idea. And another idea says Rashi, Tzur Chasayu, the rock in whom they sought refuge. Hasela, the rock with which they would take cover, Mipnei Achama V'Atzina, against the sun and the cold. Klomar, that is to say, Shehayu Betuchin Bo, the rock in whom they trusted, L'Hagin Aleim, to protect them in hara, from harm. Throughout history, people have relied on the Sela, on the rock, on whatever Avodah Zarah they were offering and that they sought refuge in. But there will be a time at the end of days when it will be so clear and so obvious that this is that. I took shelter in that. I took cover in that. I relied on this. I relied on that. It will be so obvious that that's not what really provides us with comfort. The irony is the hostages were returned on Hoshana Rabbah, the very last day of Sukkot, the final day of Sukkot before we take leave of the Sukkah. And how incredible is it that Rashi's addressing that sometimes we take cover under the rock, under these false gods, right? We think that's going to protect us. That's going to protect us from the harm. But the irony is that Sukkah is exactly the opposite. Sukkah represents that we're not taking shelter, we're not taking refuge, we're not taken cover by those physical things, by the dira skeva, by the home, by the money, by the job, by the car, by the wallet, by the things that we think give us protection and stability. We leave all of that and we go into Adira Sarai. That's what we dwell in the sukkah. We realize we're in the brace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's who our protection is. We're not after those false gods because there's nothing really there. It's completely empty. There's the ein peh. There's really no mouth. There's no nose. There's no eyes. There's no ears. It's a piece of stone. It's a piece of rock. You could shatter it like Avram Avinu did and prove to us that Elohim, where are their gods? There's nothing really like it's just a physical structure. There's nothing really there. You're praying to a shoelace. Come on, what's going on? Let's be real. Let's be emistic. Let's be genuine. And at the end of days, there's going to be this proliferation of a seeking of a bakasha of amitis, of truth, of emes lamito, of really what's really true. And this is a verse. It's a verse that's referencing the end of days. And I want to share with you something that I saw in the stone chumash from art school on the bottom. On this pasuk, it brings down, it says, as the end of days approaches, God in the forum of inexorable events will cry out, where is their God, the rock in whom they sought refuge? And the Jewish people, Israel, will hear and return to its maker. This pasuk that has the numerical value of 738, V'amar Elohim tzur chasayubo, where are their gods? Where are they? There's nothing there. We got to take cover in what's real. It's a pasuk that's telling us at the end of days, things will happen that will just force people into the Hakara, that will guide people, will filter people down to, okay, it's Hashem. It's obviously Hashem. The people will find the truth. People will find the real God. They will find the real the real Bikusha Emes. So it's an incredible thing. On Hoshana Rabbah this year, which was day 738, that there's one Gematria, there's one pasuk that has that Gematria, and that's the pasuk in Parshas Hazinu. V'amar Elohim tzur chasayubo. We got to take cover in what's real, in what's true, in the real, in the Ribbon Shalom, in what's Emes. The Torah tells us at the end of Parshas V'zos HaBracha that Moshe shattered the luchos l'einei kol Yisrael, and Rabbi Nassan of Breslov, he points out, and many point out that we go right into Bereshis bara Elokim. The Baal HaTurim tells us on Bereshis bara Elokim that the Sofei Tevos, the end letters, is Taf, Aleph, and Mem, which is Emes. And the Baal HaTurim says, Shebara ha'olam be'emes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with truth. Shenemar, as it says, Rosh Devarcha Emes. And in the Likutei Halachos, Rabbi Nassan, he explains, based on my understanding of this, he says, Sofei Tevos Emes, who ikar kiyum ha'olam. Emes is the primary force of the world's existence. Without Emes, the world cannot last. It cannot survive. It cannot exist. And he says so beautifully, he says that a person has so many different experiences in his life. Have different moments over the course of every day. At one point, a person might be praying. Another point in a person's day, in his life, he's learning. Another point in the day, he's doing business, he's working. Another point in the day, he's eating. Another point, he's talking with friends. A person is always doing something. A person is doing many, many things. But the primary thing, and the primary thing a person should do, at each moment, anything that a person experiences, everything a person does, he should find the truth behind it. He should connect to the Emes behind it. There's always an element of Emes at whatever it is you're doing. Are you eating right now? There's an aspect of Emes there in what you're eating. Are you working right now? Connect to the Emes in what you're doing. Being honest in business. Are you conversing with someone? Being honest, being emestic, being genuine, being authentic. Are you learning? Be emestic. Are you davening? Talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Don't talk to the sitter, talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be emesdik. At every single interval of life, our job, the Iker says, the Rabbi Nassan, is to find the emes. And he says something amazing. He says, we can't really explain what that is. But if you really seek and desire truth, you'll understand it on your own. It's hard to explain what is that thing that is Emes. Something deep inside. It's hard to extrapolate. It's hard to explain. But if you're being mevakesh the Emes, you'll know. You'll know this is the truth. V'haklal she'en sha'a ba'olam shelo yuchal laha'ir la'atzmo al yedei ha'emes. Know this rule, that there is not a moment in our lives when we are unable to illuminate in ourselves through Emes. Yes, there's darkness that may surround us, but even mitoch the darkness, there's always Emes inside. There's always Emes that can be seeked, that can be searched, that can be focused on, that can be connected to. So yes, at the end of the Torah tells us L'einei Kol Yisrael, and it was a very dark moment in Jewish history. The luchos were shattered because the Jewish people were dancing around an Egel Hazav. They were serving literally a false god. Ei Eloheinu, but where are their gods? There's nothing really there. And it was through that darkness, it was through that now L'einei Kol Yisrael. Yes, there was that period of darkness, and in history, that's the period of the 3 weeks, the 9 days, Tisha B'Av. It all stemmed from that. But guess what happens right after L'einei Kol Yisrael? We switch right back to Bereshis Bar Elokim, which is Sofi Tevos, which has the end letters of Emes. Because we're mevar the Emes through the darkness. A Yid is able to see that there's an element of Emes, that ultimately the fact that this happened means Hashem wanted this to happen, and now there's a deeper message here, there's a deeper insight, there's a deeper lesson, there's something for me to focus on, there's a way I can grow and learn from here, whatever it is, from the darkness that surrounds me, I can now find the inner light to illuminate the truth that exists here in. I can find it, I can seek it, I can smell it, I can sniff it. It's real because it's Emes. It's not like the false gods. Where? Where? Eloheinu. That's the pasuk. 738. Where are those gods? I don't know, but that's not the God I'm searching for. I'm searching for realness, for genuineness. It's incredible to think about the testimonials that have come about from the hostages. And I'm just going to read to you some of the headlines. Freed Israeli soldier says tefillin and prayer sustained him in Hamas activity. After enduring nearly 2 years of brutal captivity in Gaza, 22-year-old IDF soldier Matan Ingris said that tefillin and daily prayer were his anchor through the darkness. This was a person who was able to find the Emes because he was in the darkness. Even in that nightmare, I needed to stay connected. I demanded tefillin, a prayer book, and a Tanakh. And somehow, Hamas brought it to them. And from that day on, he prayed 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. Another freed hostage, and I'm reading you a headline. Ram's captors wanted to convert him to Islam, but he said, I'm a proud Jew. As soon as he came back, he put on tefillin. Another headline, even in the most concealed of concealments, hostage Bar Cooperstein sings with his father. And you could see a picture online. They're holding a flag. It says, Tamid biyadayim shel Borei Olam. Always in the hands of the Borei Olam. Even in the darkness, finding b'mevakesh the Emes. There's the picture of the hostage, Yosef Chaim Ohana, who's holding and clutching tefillin in his hands. Recounting another hostage who talked about how he didn't even know who God was, and he was able to discover him through the darkness, through the cracks in the ceiling. Just incredible stories that have emerged about these hostages. That yes, they experienced the darkness. It was L'einei Kol Yisrael. There was a shibarta. There was a breaking of the luchos. It was a time period of darkness. But what happens right after that? It's Bereshis Bar Elokim Sofi Tevos Emes. There's a bikush Emes that people are funneled into. It's like a compelling. It's like a compelling natural. It's not. It's a compelling supernatural effect that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. At the end of days, like we saw, there's going to be these inexorable events that will happen that will cause Israel to return to its maker. Unbelievable. Ey Elohim, where are their gods? Surah Chasayubo, the rock in whom they sought refuge. Ultimately, we know deep, 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 deep down, our ultimate rock at Surah is Ein Sur Kelekenu, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the Sukkah, Ein Sur, it's Him that we rely on. And deep down, we all know that, every single one of us, and sometimes it's through those dark moments and the difficulties that really brings it out. Mirz Hashem, we shall be zoke. We shall be zoche. We shall be zoche, to be mevakesh emes, to seek the truth, to find the illuminating light of emes that exists deep, deep down. If all you see in other people is negativity, it's sheker, it's just layers. It's klipos. We have to look beyond that, peel it away and find that there's an emes lamito. And if you can't find it, search more. Dig a little bit deeper. And if you still can't find it, you're not looking hard enough. Look a little deeper. Everybody has goodness. Everybody has spirituality. Everybody has a chilek. Every yid has a chilek, a lo kamimal mamish. And the more we're mevakesh emes, which is our goal now, it's the ikr, to be mevakesh the emes in whatever situation that we're doing in life, whatever it is you're involved in. If you're learning right now, do it emes day. If you're talking to Hashem, you're praying, do it emes day. If you're talking to somebody, just a friendly conversation, be gentle, do it in emes day. If you're doing business, be honest, do it emes day. Always find the nakuda of emes inside every single thing, and that's going to be what's kiyum. Because it's the emes, that's how Hashem created the world, and that's how we are going to continue to sustain ourselves, is by tapping into the very way in which He created the world. We have to create our world. We have to create our lives and our way of living in that same emestika model. So let's strive and try to be living with a bikusha emes and Mirz Hashem. Ultimately, one day, and maybe that day will be very soon, we'll experience the true emes. Vayibayomahu Yeshem Echad Ushmo Echad. Wishing you a beautiful Shabbos and an amazing rest of your week.